If I were precepting you in the ICU, this is something we would go over day one. Arterial lines are a very, very common type of line that's placed in the ICU to continuously monitor a patient's blood pressure as well as give us access to obtain blood draws, in particular ABGs. But part of an arterial line setup includes something called a transducer. One of the most important parts of this transducer is that it is leveled at the correct location. And if you want to impress your ICU nurse, remember this: Phlebostatic access. But what is a phlebostatic access? A phlebostatic access is where we want to level a patient's arterial line transducer. And where that spot is the patient's fourth intercostal space, mid axillary line, aka basically the patient's armpit. This is what a transducer looks like right here. And sometimes it's going to be leveled outside of the patient's bed, for example, on a little device like this. And sometimes it'll actually be in the patient's bed with them, whether it's on a device attached to their arm or on like a little pillow device that's made to keep it leveled at the phlebostatic axis. But do you know why we level the transducer at the phlebostatic axis? The phlebostatic axis happens to line up with the patient's right atrium, which is the optimal point to measure the patient's blood pressure. If your transducer is placed too high, your patient's blood pressure is going to read falsely low, and vice versa. If the transducer is placed too low, your patient's blood pressure reading is going to read falsely high. This is super important to remember, especially when we are titrating medications based off of your patient's arterial line blood pressure. Last thing you want to do is be increasing or decreasing one of those vasopressors, and you're not actually getting an accurate blood pressure reading. So the first thing you should do whenever you're assessing your patient's arterial line is to make sure that the transducer is optimally placed at the patient's phlebostatic axis, and you're going to frequently be assessing this throughout your shift, especially whenever you are titrating those medications.